This is I Was 8. I'm Larry Fedoruk with a brand new Season 3 episode of my personal journal podcast. Be sure to find this podcast again next week when I get hit by lightning. True story? Of course, these are all true stories, including this week, I Was 8.
Season 3, Chapter 11, The New Car.
I'll never forget the day Dad came home with the new car. I was up in my room. I heard it pull up and stop in front of our house. There were 2 honks of a horn. That could not be Dad coming home in the old Dodge. First of all, I knew the sound of the old Dodge when it pulled up. It had a distinct rumble-clank sound with the occasional rattle, followed by a small cough. No, this was not the old Dodge, nor was it the Dodge horn. These were 2 honks. The old Dodge horn didn't really honk anymore. Sounded more like 2 cows gargling 7-Up. Well, I guess I better look out the window to see who's coming to visit. To my surprise, it was Dad. Not in the old brown Dodge, but a brand new shiny green something. "Dad!" I screamed through the screen. He looked up and said, "Come down and see our new car." The word car was still hanging in the room, but I was already down the stairs and through the kitchen running out to see the new Fedoromobile. "We got a new car!" I yelled at Mom as I passed through the door onto the street to behold the beast, the green machine, the shiny new car. Did I ever mention I love cars? "Wow, Dad, is this really ours? What is it?" "It's a Strato Chief," Dad said. "What is that?" "Well, it's like chief of the whole stratosphere. Like a spaceship, does it fly?" "No, it's just a car, but it's a Strato Chief." "Like a galaxy?" "No, just the stratosphere." "Okay, well, wanted a galaxy, but this is still good. Can I take it for a spin?" "Sure," Dad said. "Jump in." Now, taking it for a spin when you're 8 involved jumping behind the wheel and pretending to drive while making engine sounds. See how I shifted there? Pretty good, huh? When the old Dodge was at home, it was like an added playhouse for us. My friends and I would get in there and pretend to drive everywhere. But with this new car, my friends and I could travel the world. All the great places. Paris, Mount Everest, Saskatoon. For now, I decided to just take it for a spin around the block. It was my first experience with the new car's smell, only slightly tainted with the scent of tobacco. I guess Dad had a few smokes on the way home from the dealership. And by the way, so that we can all learn something here, Strato Chief was a kind of Pontiac, named after Pontiac, Michigan, the town itself named after Pontiac, an indigenous war chief. When European and American settlers began moving in the early 19th century, I guess they figured, hey, we'll steal your land, but how about we name it after you? How thoughtful. At the time, I only knew Pontiac was a kind of car, and now we had one, and it was the chief of the entire Strato. If I wasn't so focused on driving the new car, I might have noticed that Mom was not sharing Dad and my enthusiasm over this major life event. A new car. This must mean we're rich, and now we're rich with a new car. I saw the speedometer went up to 120 miles per hour. Oh, yeah! I wonder if I can get it up to that speed before I pretend drive by the church. Again, had I not had the need for speed, I might have also noticed the steam coming out of my mom's ears as she stood on the stoop, eyeing Dad from afar, scowling at the car, watching me drive. When I got back, I jumped out and I noticed Dad was a little less smiley than he was when he first pulled up. "Hey, how come nobody told me we were getting a new car?" I thought we shared things in this family. I thought we had a deal. As parents, you tell me everything. And as a kid, I tell you, well, next to nothing. As a kid, that arrangement is much easier, less trouble for you. Most things parents don't need to know. But kids need to know everything. And how and why did you keep the new car a secret? Well, if it wasn't for the fact that we had a new car, I would have a lot of questions about the new car. Turns out the only one in our family who knew the secret that we were getting a new car was Dad. And he didn't even know it when he left the house that morning. Dad had purchased a new family car on a whim, an impulse, like suddenly grabbing a pack of gum at the checkout counter. A 2-ton, shiny green 4-door Stratochief pack of gum. I loved cars, didn't know a lot about them. I knew they cost a lot of money. Turns out we didn't have a lot of money. But lucky for Dad, the good folks at the Household Finance Corporation, HFC, were more than happy to give Dad the money for a new car, and all Dad had to do was pay them back eventually, plus a few extra dollars for their trouble. Apparently, Dad and the HFC guy had a few investments going together, so to speak, and needless to say, this was a sore point for Dad's significant other, Mom. The car fight was epic. I could hear it from my room, where I was instructed to stay until supper. I'll bet my friend Philip could hear it from his room, and that was across town. Hardly the family event one would expect with the arrival of a new Stratochief. Mom's contention was that the old Dodge still had some life in it, and we didn't need a new car. Dad countered with, he got a really good deal. Mom said that buying something as expensive as a new family car was a couple's decision, one made after much discussion. Dad argued that he got a really good deal. Mom said she didn't know how the family could afford car payments on top of everything else. Dad's comeback was that, well, if you pass up a deal like this, it might never come again. Supper was late. It might not have happened at all, but I guess at some point in the battle, it occurred to one of them that we should at least feed the kid. We ate in silence. Death, silence, accompanied by death stares between my parents at the table. Hey, any chance we're having cake? Yeah, I guess not. Well, I'll be back in my room. Once I was back upstairs, the debate continued. Mom thought the car should go back. Dad mentioned the deal he got. And besides, it was now technically a used car, and we'd still owe all that money to the HFC, and we did need a car of some sort. Maybe Dad could work overtime or get a second job. I thought I maybe should get a job. How many lawns would I have to mow to pay for a Pontiac, the Stratochief? I could give up candy. Well, hold on now. Now I'm just talking crazy. By the way, so we all learned something else, Household Finance Corporation was owned by HSBC, the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank of China. Who knew that Dad's impulse was actually an international incident now? No wonder Mom was mad. Although the car fight was epic and just kept on going, by age 8 I had become somewhat numb to my parents' high-decibel discussions. I was bothered, a little worried, especially with this one, but after a while I could kind of tune it out and even get some shut-eye. In the morning it was really quiet. So I ran to the window and looked out onto the street. There was the green machine, the Pontiac, still parked in front of our house. Well, that's a good sign. Or possibly a bad sign. Hard to tell with all this quiet. Well, we still had the car for now. We had that Pontiac for over 10 years. Keeping it that long, I think, was Dad's punishment. You wanted this car so much? All right, it's your car for the rest of your life. And right now, no one's taking bets that it's going to be a long one. Near the end, that Pontiac had way more rumbles, clanks, sputters, and coughs than the old Dodge ever did. And the horn, well, eventually sounded like two cows choking to death on 7-Up. Never mind. For the first couple of years, at least, I don't think Mom even drove the car. She was a good driver. I just think that maybe that was part of her protest. Also, for the first couple of years, I didn't like riding in it. Riding with Dad was okay, but Mom and Dad, it was just this reminder of the epic car flight and how Dad would be sending car payments to China well into the next century. HFC became the dirty word in our house, worse than the F-bomb. When friends came over and marveled that we had a new car, I didn't want to talk about it much, but eventually I gave in. Me and my friends drove that car all over the world. New York, Spain, Kamloops. Our next car was also a Pontiac, a white one, a Laurentian for Lawrence, who now could drive. I remember my folks discussing the purchase of that car several times at the kitchen table and shopping for the car together. How lovely. The Laurentian, by the way, was involved in 2 car accidents only 7 days apart, and after the second one, the car was written off. The driver on both occasions was a young Monsieur Laurentian. Lawrence. Larry. Me. Wow, and I thought Dad got into trouble. I had totaled the family car. Hey, any chance we're having cake? No. Well, I'll be up in my room. Grounded until I was 35. We ended up with an even newer Pontiac. Dad was a Pontiac guy. Loyalty. And it, too, was kind of green. The old infamous green Pontiac, Dad sold it to my Uncle Joe, Mom's brother, the good Uncle Joe, for like $30. Joe stripped it down a bit, put some new shocks in it, and used it as a farm car to haul crap and chase the cattle. He had it on the farm for like another 10 years. That's when they knew how to build them cars, huh? When we visited my Uncle Joe in our new shiny Pontiac, Pontiac number 3, I would see the wretched hulk of the old new car parked near the barn, covered in mud, and each time recall the epic battle that so quickly followed an all too brief moment of excitement over getting a new car. Dad was the whim, Mom was the plan. Dad was the impulse, Mom was the consequence. Dad was the seemed like a good idea at the time, Mom was... Here's why it wasn't. It was always interesting over the years to see one parent try and act more like the other. Not sure that ever worked out. Yeah, there was a gap between them. You could drive a Pontiac through it.
I Was 8 is a weekly storytelling podcast written, produced, and voiced by Larry Fedoruk. A new episode every Thursday on all major platforms or Larry's I Was 8 YouTube channel. Tell a friend about his podcast and reach out to Larry Fedoruk, that's Fedoruk, at LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com.